On the bench today we have the Boss compressor sustainer. This one's broken, so we're going to understand how it works, understand compression, fix it, and give it a tone test. This is the Boss compressor sustainer. It's got 4 controls, and when we look at the schematic in a second, we'll try and understand what each one of those controls do. This has also had the Fromel Mod. So after doing the schematic review, we'll also look at the Fromel Mod itself and what it was trying to achieve. Somewhere along the line, it was broken while the mod was going on. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know where it got broken or how it got broken, but it came to me broken during Fromel Mod was the description. Before we get to the schematic, we should understand how a compressor pedal works. We have a voltage here called V threshold. So if our V in peak to peak, i.e. the input voltage to the pedal, is less than the threshold, then the output voltage is going to be exactly the same. So no change if you're within the threshold. Now, if you exceed the threshold, and there's a circuit inside the compressor that's called an envelope detector. So it detects this voltage here and this voltage here, and then it says, okay, I've exceeded the threshold by about this much, I'm going to turn it down. And then depending on how you set your ratio, that determines how much it's going to turn the signal down. Like with a 2-to-1 ratio, that essentially means, in technical terms, if for every 2 dBs you exceed the threshold, you get a 1 dB higher than the threshold. And so you have different ones like 10-to-1 and higher. They won't really exceed the threshold, and that's what they call a limiter. And another thing, but sometimes you want the dynamic, i.e. voltages going up and down, because we like dynamic, it's pleasant to hear. So these ratios here tell you how much compression you're going to apply. And then the other functions are attack, and that says, okay, I've exceeded it, how quickly should I change the voltage? And then decay is how quickly should I let it go back to normal? How long should I stay with this level of compression? So those are the key elements of it. So when we look at the circuit in a second, we're going to see it has an envelope detector. It will have a thing called a voltage controlled amplifier, and what you do is the envelope detector is always controlling the gain. I'll just put N there. The envelope detector is always controlling the gain of the VCA, so it follows these rules of compression that we talked about, i.e. how fast we compress, how fast it stays compressed, that's the decay, attacking decay, and then what is the actual ratio of compression. Are we going to hard limit with a high compression ratio, or are we going to allow some dynamics to happen with something like a 2-to-1? So now let's take a look at the schematic. So this is off freestompboxes.com. We have the input. Goes to what looks like is a buffer. This chip here is the heart of the unit. So this is the voltage controlled amplifier. So this is going to turn the volume up and down based on the envelope that we detect. And if I scroll down here, this whole circuit here is the envelope detector. So we'll detect what the voltage is of any signal at any given time. And then if it's too loud or if it exceeds the threshold, it'll tell this chip to turn the gain down. And then this board here, this looks like the pot board, and we've got an attack which looks like it's connected to the envelope detector, and we've got sustain which is also connected to the envelope detector. So attack is like how quickly will it turn the volume down. Sustain, I'm not so sure, but it's part of the circuit. Level is just on the output of the circuit, so that goes straight to the output, through some buffers obviously. And then the other one is tone control. So this one differs from a few, like the Dynacomp. It differs from that because this actually has a little bit of amplification on the output, you can see here, and you can actually control the tone, usually a low pass roll off, so you get rid of some of the high frequencies. I'm on the Fromel website now. I'm going to take a look at the mods. So this is the kit here. And I believe you change every single capacitor in the signal path. And that's a lot of capacitors there. I think that's over 10 capacitors to change. That's extensive work. And I know that the values are slightly different from the stock as well, to improve some of the frequency response aspects of the pedal, get a more fuller tone. Then these are going to be germanium, and the stock is silicon, so this has a 0.3 volts forward voltage as opposed to 0.7. So that's going to change the way the circuit works. And then these two big guys here, these two big electrolytics, I'm going to guess at least one of them or even both of them are power supply filtering. These are higher voltage ones, probably 25 volts, I've not checked yet. But that will allow us to use the pedal with 18 volts as opposed to 9, which is going to increase the headroom of the pedal. So there's three major things. Let's get on to the next part of the project. Let's take the back off the pedal now. I've already removed the screws. So let's take this out. And then there's a plastic sheet. And yeah, that's not so good there. We're going to have to find a photograph of the original board and figure out how we can fix this messy area. And also, yeah, that wire is loose there. So this will be a reasonably sized job, and we're going to have to do some craftsmanship here to restore these connections, probably with wires, and get this thing working. So does this come out? Yeah, oh, it does come out. And I mean, first of all, looking at the back, it's a brand new pedal. So this is the newer stuff. It said, I saw Japan, but then I realized it says Taiwan. So this is made in Taiwan. So when I first saw this back plate, I thought, oh no, the Fromel mod on this is all surface mount, and usually nobody touches surface mount in terms of mod kits. I do surface mount, but I've been doing it a long time. And so this is old school board. You can see the tracks as well. This board probably hasn't been redesigned or touched for about 30 or 40 years. Just crank out the same boards. All right, now I'm going to get online and see if I can find a picture of what this is supposed to look like. Actually, I'm going to clean it first. I'm going to spray it and get a toothbrush on it and see what is left under there. Now it's time to do some detective work to figure out what came off. And I can see the solder across there as well. And so this is what it's supposed to look like. Let's zoom in. So the really damaged area is around here, so I'm probably going to just desolder everything and then desolder all these guys here, and then look, and I'm probably going to just have a visual inspection as well and resolder some of the other joints. Like, I think that one doesn't look so good. Yeah, it's going to be quite a job. This one here as well. Alright, so let me do that right now. Right, I think I've done the repair. Some pretty hardcore soldering, and I've checked it with the multimeter, so everything looks okay. So I might put it on the scope now and see if we can trace the signals through and just check it's working fine. And we have the pedal plugged in. The pedal is not engaged, so that blue signal is the output of the pedal on the scope, and the yellow is the scope probe. So here's our scope probe. And then if we just go here, you can see that equals the input, because that is the input. If we go round about here, that's the output of the buffer. So that's the same amplitude because it's a buffer. And we put diodes, and so if we look at this circuit, it's got some clamping diodes here, and these are the ones, I don't know if they're clamping diodes, but they're across the differential inputs, but they're also connected to the feedback loop. We changed them from germanium to silicon, and that improves the tone. I don't know what it sounds like with the 0.7s versus a 0.3 forward voltage, but those were the diodes that we just changed there. So let's click that back on, and we did a measurement just here. So why don't I go to pin 1 here. So that's pin 1, so we've added a bit more gain now. And then if we go to pin 7, which is the output of this guy here, and this is connected to the tone pot, which then goes to ground through a capacitor. So this amp's gain is a function of this filter network here. See, pin 7 is much larger, so we've amplitude it as a function of the tone pot. And then finally we go to the output, and right now we're bypassing the pedal itself. So if we press this down, okay, we saw the amplitude increase, and if we go back to pin 7, there's a difference. Both the vertical scales are set the same, and the reason why the blue is less than the yellow is our output pot, the level pot, is set lower. So if we crank the level pot all the way up, then we'd see the signal match the blue. So this is good. I think the only way really to test the dynamics of the pedal is to plug the guitar in. I don't feel I have the test equipment to see how it reacts to changes in signal, although I can do this actually. One thing that we can check is if it's compressing. So I've got it set up now with a very small input signal, so it's not hit the threshold. If we can increase the input signal, and they're about 100 millivolts to 200 millivolts, and we're compressing. So that sound now is a quiet sound, but it's coming out reasonably loud. And then if we make this up the way up to a volt, so 1.2 volts, you can see it's not changed. So the output signal for the louder ones has been turned down, and then as you scroll down in the voltage, voltages above say 300 millivolts or 200 millivolts gets amplified. So it's compressing. So now let's try some of the time domain aspects, and we're only going to be able to do that by plugging the guitar in and doing an overall tone test. So let's get the guitar hooked up. Guitar is plugged in, clean sound. And what we're listening for is the decay of the guitar signal as it disappears. And you can see the longer we wait, obviously, the signal decays down to 0 volts. So let's put our compressor in. Brief overview. So this is the gain, or the amplitude that comes out of the pedal. It has a filter, so we can emphasize the high frequencies. This is the attack. So this is how this is how the compressor react to an input signal. And then this is the sustain, or how long the note this thing will last for. So let's put the pedal in. So we got it set to about unity gain. And you can already hear it's ringing on. And we can turn up the gain. The beauty of this thing is you can actually use it not at the front of your board, not only as a compressor, but as a boost as well. Let's turn this guy down. Let's turn this guy up. And then this is the best one. Just let it ring out. It's still going. Go away for a bite to eat and it'll still be going. The sustain is fantastic compared to the pedal off. Just fades away. And we can hammer the strings as hard as we like. It'll never go over a certain amplitude. And then it'll just sustain forever. Well, that's fantastic. Looks like this thing's working. I just love listening to that sustain. That's fantastic. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.